We are live. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I am your host, Blake Ruffino. This is Are You Serious Sports? We hope that you guys are making it a good one. We know that we are as well. Still displaced for the current moment. Still displaced. So we're doing a makeshift show. Let me make sure you. Okay, so you guys do have the audio. So we are still a little displaced. But it's okay. We got LSU game day. We're still able to do a show. We still got our health. So it's going to be a good day. And we're going to talk some LSU Tigers today. We're going to do the pregame, and then we're probably going to do a postgame show tonight. So be ready and on the lookout for the postgame show tonight. So there's a lot to break down. There's a lot to talk about this morning. A lot I want to get into and a lot that I want to see. So we'll go that route. We'll break down LSU later in the show. I'll give you some of my picks. I went 1-0 last night by the skin of my teeth as I picked Coastal Carolina. I actually did buy the point, but I did put on AYS 26.5. But Coastal did cover the spread last night. So if for all you bettors out there, now that it's legal inside the state, or it's coming inside the state, I made my bets last night on betonline.ag. I'll give you some of my bets, but for the majority of the show today, we're going to be breaking down LSU and some things that we got to see. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. We'll get into that. But as always, let's get to a couple of the comments before we get started. Kenny, right out the top, says never forget USA. Yeah, to everybody, guys, it's 20 years ago, September 11th. I remember where I was 20 years ago. Sixth grade homeroom 20 years ago, Miss Matchnick's homeroom class. And I'll never forget my buddy of mine, Trey, ran into the room and said the U.S. had just been bombed. The U.S. had just been bombed. And then we turned on the TV and we stayed at homeroom the entire day. We went to lunch and came back to homeroom, didn't do anything. It was a very crazy day, very, very crazy day. To all those that lost their lives, not only in 9/11, but lost their lives protecting our country. It was the one time that I can remember our country, and I'm not going to get political, but the one time I remember our country being somewhat unified for one common goal, because we are all one. So everybody that has served in the military, everyone that lost a loved one, we're thinking about you today on this 20th anniversary of 9/11. So thank you for everything that you do for us. Jason says, "Who? Mike Jones?" Yeah, so we'll get to that. We'll give a full breakdown, and if it's your first time watching a Saturday show, we get to all of your comments. Guys, do us a favor by hitting the like and share. Share to some Facebook groups. If you're on YouTube, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell and give us a thumbs up. It really helps us out if you're on YouTube, as we're going to be trying to transition everything that we're doing video-wise, or we want to, over to that platform for the time being. It helps us out, especially since we're displaced. So everybody hit the subscribe button. Tell your mama, tell your daddy, tell your granny to hit that subscribe button. Go on their phone and do that for a player. I greatly appreciate it. Kevin said, "What's up, Blake? Good morning, sir." Ryan says, "Good morning, Blake. Missed a whole last 2 weeks. Prayers for you and your family with Ida." Thank you, sir. We lost just about everything in our home, but still believe purple and gold. Well, Ryan, man, I didn't know that, man. I'm so sorry to hear that you guys do that. Reach out to me if anything we can do to help. My good friend Tony Weaver says, "Good morning, bro. Let's get this much-needed W." I agree with him. So let's do this. Let's pay some bills around this thing. We'll get to some more of these comments, and then we'll get down to breaking some LSU today in this pregame. None better than our good friends over at GM Varno & Sons, betonline.ag. Guys, with 63 years of experience, nobody is more equipped to servicing your vehicle, RV, and or camper trailer than GM Varno & Sons. RV repair, big rig overhauls, motorhome chassis, routine maintenance, tire rotations, tire sales. No job is too big or too small over at GM. Give them a call today at 225-664-9992. That's 225-664-9992. And tell them your good friend, Mr. Blake Ruffino, over at AYS, sent you on by. And our good friends over at betonline.ag. Guys, I got to tell you, last night I placed my bets on betonline.ag. It was so easy and so quick to do. It was very fun. using the 50% welcome bonus. Guys, whatever bets you place, you're going to get that 50% right off the top just because you're listening to AYS. So go over to betonline.ag today with that mobile device. Place your bets. I'll give you some at the end of the show, but do it now. Sign up. Get ready to go because it's time for some college football. That's betonline.ag. betonline.ag. All right, let's get started. Everybody do me a favor by hitting the like and share. Share it in some Facebook groups. It'd really appreciate me. I'd really appreciate it if you guys were able to do that. But right off the bat, Steve Bean says live from Touchdown Village. I like it. I like it a lot. Jason says, I look more forward to your show than any other podcast. Thank you. Radio or talk show. You tell it like it is and actually take time to damn near read everyone's comment and answer. Keep doing your thing, bro. Much appreciated. Yeah, we want to. So the goal here is to bring everybody's interaction in here. I think that there's so many shows that say that they're fan interactive, but they're not interactive. Without you guys, I don't. What am I doing it for? You know, like, I'm going to be wrong. Here's the thing. I'm going to be wrong a lot, and I'm going to be right a lot. So let's talk about some things that I want to see today from LSU, and then I'll get to the comments. Number one, and off the bat, I'm really irritated and have been irritated for the last day and a half at Ed Orgeron, not because of the loss at UCLA, but he ran out in his press conference Thursday and said that Mike Jones Jr., the transfer from Clemson, was the best cover linebacker that they have, and it wasn't even close. So with all due respect, and I mean this with all due respect, now he said, well, he hasn't been great at, at run defense, and the other two guys you ran out there weren't that good either. And you got torched by UCLA's tight end. You got torched all last year on crossing routes. Maybe, just maybe, Ed, Pro Football Focus and Ty McShay and Mel Kiper Jr. actually know what kind of talent this kid is more than you do. Tell the kid, look, we need you on the field right now, and we will work you inside into the inside backer role. But right now, we need you. So what drives me freaking insane is Ed Orgeron thinks it's cool and it's funny and it's energetic to run out there and say that Mike Jones Jr. shouldn't have been playing. Guys, he's the late first, second-round pick from people that do this for a living. With all due respect to Damone Clark, to Bug Strong, to Jared Small, to Micah Baskerville, guys, they don't have that kind of rating right now. I want to see the kid play. Now, if that kid doesn't run out here today and get – and I'm not talking about just playing. I'm talking about significant playing time after Ed Orgeron made that comment this past week. I'm going to freaking lose it. Like, I'm tired of those kinds of comments. Like, I've been calm, I've been cool, I've been collected, but I am sick and tired of hearing those stupid comments. Well, hey, our best player didn't even play. What the frick is that about? What is that about? Stupid. It's more than stupid. It's asinine. Maybe you're not. Maybe it's you're the problem right now. So look, I think that there's one or two things that are going to happen. I think that LSU's either going to when I say run the table, hear me out. Either they're going to run off 7 straight. Now, if you missed it, I said on AYS, I posted. If LSU wins 7 straight, this luscious, this beautiful black Italian beard is going to get chopped off if LSU wins 7 straight games. I think that we're in a situation where LSU is going to ride this shit because they got more talent than anybody in the next 7 games that they play. The only other game and let's be realistic, the only other game that they're going to play this season where they don't have as much talent than or equal to is Alabama. You got more talent than A&M. Recruiting tells me that. You don't have more right now than Alabama. And the tide just keeps rolling, puns intended. But look, I don't care about that right now. That, beating them right now should not be your focus. It should be winning football games. Now, today against McNeese, and I'll get to these comments, but today against McNeese, here's some things that I want to see. And Ed's not going to do this first one, but it is what it is. I want to see LSU send pressure defensively. I want them to get out of this. Oh, we got the 4-man front. You don't have the 4-man front. I don't mean to be rude. I don't mean to be ugly, but you don't have the 4-man front defensively that you think that you do. At some point, you're going to have to look in the mirror and tell yourself you don't have the 4-man front. At some point, you're going to have to sit here and tell yourself you're not in a situation where you can't be exotic and not send blitzes. Because you know what? It's funny. Georgia did it, and they still have a really damn good defensive line. Clemson did it. Alabama did it. A&M did it. Just because you have good players doesn't mean you have to give different looks and be exotic with what you're doing. I've said this past week. And when teams go in 13 personnel, if you don't know what 13 personnel is, it's a 1 running back and 3 tight ends. You can't run a 4-2-5. You got to run your big cojones out there and let them punch somebody in the mouth. So it's a little bit, some of these guys getting pushed around, like Ali Gay getting double teamed by a right tackle and a tight end. That's not a product of success and beneficial for him. So I want him to be exotic. I want him to give different looks. I want them to give different pressures. Look, if it's 3rd and long and you run a 3-man front and you drop 8, I don't really give a shit. But so what about putting stuff on film? Like this whole thing, well, we don't want to put this on film. You don't have a choice anymore. And by the way, that's the stupidest argument of all time. Well, you don't want to put this on film. What, you don't want to put, you don't want to put, I guess I should say, you don't want to put a post rail on film. The more you put on film, the harder it is to game plan for individuals. So with all due respect, I think that LSU's got to unload the chips today. So here's number 2. I think that LSU's got to unload the chips. Everything that you have in your playbook, everything that you have that is the base core of your stuff, you got to run it. Every single thing. Offensively, defensively, special teams, run a fake punt, run a fake kick. I don't give a shit, honestly. You got to do it because you got to give these kids some confidence. Now, the one thing that I like is that this team's not holding their head right now. I know that Orgeron had the little thing at practice when he told the guys, let's have a good practice. Let's get ready to go. Guys, that happens to Saban all the time. He had to come out in a press conference and get on his team for being lackluster this week. When you do that between 18 and 21-year-olds, that shit's going to happen. I'd say number 3 offensively, you got pretty much a makeshift offensive line today. I want to see you run the football. And look, if you can't run inside and outside zone, then you're going to have to get creative. You're going to have to pull some guys. If you can't get pushed. And guess what? I would fully expect McNeese State to send pressure. You're going to have to run Max Johnson. You're going to have to run Max Johnson. You're going to have to roll him out of the pocket. If it's his game to get outside the pocket and use his legs, let him do it. And I'd say number 4, look, I really don't know if this is going to happen, nor do I think that this is going to happen. I want you to force the ball to your young guys. I don't really give 2 Rudy Poos if Corey Connor starts at running back. I actually want to see Corey Connor start at running back. Do I think it's going to happen? No, I don't. But I want to see Corey Connor start at running back. If he fumbles out the gate, okay. If something happens, okay, then it is what it is. But at some point, Ty Davis-Price, John Emery, who I started hearing some rumors about John Emery late last night. I can't confirm them right now. I don't know if he's going to be ready to go, but I did hear some rumors last night that were really interesting about John Emery. And look, guys, I'm not running rumors out here. If I hear something and can solidify something, I'll tell you, but I'm not going to run out here with rumors. I want to see a running back. Look, if you're not able to get pushed on the offensive line and you see a small little hole, run somebody the frick over. Like, put your head down, run somebody over, get 2, 3, 4 yards, and so what? You know what happens when you start running people over? It's the Mike Tyson theory. Everyone's got a game plan until you punch somebody in the mouth. Stop tippy-toeing around, stop pussyfooting around, hit somebody in the mouth, and let's go. So, and I'd say the last thing, O-line-wise, I thought that they still did pretty good. I say pretty good. I thought that they did good in pass protection. Again, go watch the film. Guys, 5 guys can't block 7. I'm done with that. That's last week. They got to get a push. There's no excuses this week in the remaining weeks not to be able to get pushed. in the running game. There's no excuses. So, all right, let's get to a couple of these comments. Nookie says that the YouTube bell reminder saved me. Guys, yeah, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell. There's still like 65% of you that watch the show religiously that aren't subscribed. So we really appreciate it if you subscribe and hit the notification bell. We do have a goal to get to 2,000 subscribers by the end of the football season. Mario says, good morning. Kenny says, you are coming through just fine. Good. I don't like it. I don't like not being in my studio. Guys, I forgot about this. Hit me with the hashtag Ask Blake too. You got a question, you want to talk about something, put inside hashtag Ask Blake and we'll talk about it. Henry Pooh Bear says, hey Blake, I made $50 off of a $1 bet on Dak and Cooper yards and TDs. Yeah, that was one bet that I had. Pooh, if you saw on Twitter, I said, usually when the public bets so heavily for one team, usually I go the opposite because it usually happens that like 2/3 or 75% of the time, the team that's the underdog usually covers and pretty significantly. I did put $50 on Dallas, and nothing big, but I'm not a huge money spender unless I know something. Like the national championship game in 19. A huge spender. Like last night, I spent $40 on Coastal and then had +9 with Dallas. Put $50 on it. So we're making a little money. Hey, look, $40, $50, $100 a week in your betting, it's better than nothing. So we'll see. Danny Snow says, preach. Look, man, it is what it is at this point. Now I'm going to put this poll inside of YouTube. I just found out this poll thing that we can do polls. So I'm going to put a poll in YouTube. So everybody watching this on YouTube, you can do it. Do you think Ed Orgeron will change things around? Let's do that. Change things around. So we're going to put a poll inside of YouTube. A lot of people have been asking me to do this, so here we go. We're gonna try it. Ask the community. There we go. The poll is inside of YouTube. Derrick Street says, "Let the coaches coach." Yeah, and you kind of have to. If Jake, it's hard for me to believe that Durante Jones and Jake Peets have the same issues that were here last year. It's very difficult for me to believe that and look, to Ed Orgeron's credit, he's not lying to you on this. They were working their asses off this week on crossing routes and being more physical in the running game. Look, you gotta throw people stuff defensively. Dave Aranda in all of his glory would throw so many different things at teams. The Tua Tagovailoa, Braden Fajoko was on the show and talked about the Patrick Queen, or on our show a while back, and he talked about the Patrick Queen interception, that they had been practicing this disguise zone blitz for the right time, and they had been running it for weeks. And then, when Patrick Queen would intercept Tua Tagovailoa, Dave finally called it. They overloaded one side. It looked like Patrick Queen was coming. If you remember, he bailed out and had the interception. That's the kind of stuff you got to see, and you got to see it right now. Like, there's nothing bigger than game reps. There's nothing better than game reps. There's nothing better at understanding something. You can't always do it in practice. You got to run this in the game. Game reps mean everything. Experience means everything. So I want to see stuff like that. I don't know if Orgeron's going to do it against his son. Let me say this too, to defend Ed a little bit. Some Rudy Poo this week asked Orgeron if he was going to cut off his son, meaning if he was going to not talk to his son this week. The frick is that, man? Like, what the frick was that? I don't get some of these questions. Ed Wright says, do you see competition starting spot if LSU developing a running game in the 2 weeks with the backup offensive tackles? Absolutely, maybe outside of Austin Deculus. Look, I thought personally watching the game, I did think that Deculus was the only guy to not give up a pressure. And if you go back and watch the film, he was probably the only guy that got pushed up front. But yeah, I mean, and you'll have to find somewhere for Deculus. I think that he's a guard, man. I've said this religiously. I think that Austin Deculus is a pro right guard, or probably a pro right guard playing tackle. But yeah, I mean, if Garrett Dallinger goes out there and plays right tackle today, I think he might be playing guard. I don't know. But I think he'll be in the fold. We'll see how they shake that out this week. But if Garrett Dallinger plays right tackle and dominates, frick yeah. I mean, so what? You got to keep him in there. But here's the thing. They won't do that. Ed won't do that. Eric, I see your hashtag Ask Blake. What's your question? Let's see here. Logan says, what happened to that aggressive, nasty defense that Durante Jones had been talking about? Well, and that's my point. You know, here's what I'm gonna do after, a week's passed. I'm gonna give the coordinators a mulligan. Personally, I'm gonna give the coordinators a mulligan only because everything looks so much alike defensively. I'm definitely going to give Durante Jones a mulligan. And because how much involved is Orgeron in all of this? Here's something that you guys don't want to hear. I thought offensively we look better under Ensminger than Jake Peets. I mean, look, he's going to have to, and look, we haven't talked about DJ Mangus in the passing game either. They're going to have to come together as a cohesive unit, and LSU's got to score 40-plus today. If they don't score 40-plus today, then we got problems because McNeese is not that good. They're not that good. They actually might not win the Southern Conference. I think they might come, close to last. I mean, but look, I'll give Orgeron his credit, and I'm not talking about Ed. I think Cody Orgeron is somebody he'll sling it now. He'll sling it. He ain't scared of nobody. Jay said, Ed's not going to send pressure this weekend, especially against his son. You can lie and say he'll do whatever to win, but reality, that's his son on the other side. So it's going to be very vanilla. I could see that, and I don't think that I agree with you. I don't think, and that's what I was saying. I don't know if he'll do that, but we'll see. Look, it's his job at this point, but and look, it is his son, and you can get away with being very vanilla this week, but again, you're going to have to start running this shit because look, you guys are going to laugh at me right here, but Central Michigan. They got the Sermon kid that's at quarterback. They got what's the kid's name at wide receiver? They got some playmakers, and Central Michigan gave Missouri everything that they wanted and more. So, if you got a big game next week, you can laugh at me all you want, but Central and don't say we're not better than that. LSU's better than Missouri right now after what happened last season. Are they more talented? Yes, but we'll see. I'd run it. Corey says that on Facebook that we need that old school LSU defense. The one that would light Tiger Stadium on fire electric. You don't have that right now. You don't have it. Corey says, and we got to establish the run. Let them young horses roll ball. You got to let Corey Connor and Mara Goodwin go. Look, I love Ty Davis Price. I love John Emery, but at some point, Ty Davis Price is going to have to mentally understand that when something's not there, I got to run somebody over. You have the body, man. If you're 220 pounds, run somebody over. Run somebody over. I mean, and like he did when he caught the pass to get the first down last week, run somebody over. Here's another thing. I kind of got ripped this week about talking about players and their faults. Look, brother, if you're making money, I'm not calling them names. I'm talking about here's the funny thing about stuff that goes on the field. Guys, it's on the field. I'm not calling these kids horrible. I'm not calling them, outside the field. I'm not saying they're bad dudes or anything like that. We're talking about on the field. If you can't take constructive criticism, guys, I don't get that. You want to sign big NIL deals. Andre Anthony, love him to death. Literally love him to death. But Andre Anthony signs a deal for NIL. He's making a lot of money. Guys, he's 23 years old. At what point do we say, look, you got to play better? So I'm tired. I'm tired of that. Well, and you could say it's a bad look and all that kind of stuff. No. Bundy says need to go fast, offense, tempo. That's another thing that I thought about this week too. I want him to see go up tempo too. But the thing about up tempo is I think Orgeron's a little worried about his defense, but who gives a shit if you're scoring a lot? Jared says Corey Connor needs to start over Ty Davis Price. Just give TDP that push. It's bullshit. Jack says, why is Coach O so stuck at 4-2-5 defense instead of being diverse and multiple to get after the opposing quarterback? That I don't know, mainly because I don't think that he fully understands it. Let me back up. I do – look, you don't coach as long as Orgeron. This is the stupidest argument of all time in my opinion, but Orgeron's been around a lot of football. I think that he understands it, meaning I think he understands a three-man front. I think he understands pressure. I think he understands coverage. The problem with O is I think that it's hard for him to articulate it and verbally get it out there. With that being said, however, I think he's being stubborn. I think he's being very stubborn. You got some questions, fire them in here. Hashtag Ask Blake, and at the end of the show, I'll give you some of my bets. We are technically 2-1 for the season. I didn't do one last week. I like giving myself a week to look at guys before I start making bets. I gave myself the loss, even though I didn't put it on social media. I did give myself the loss from last week from LSU. So we're 2-1, 66%, I guess. So we'll see. I like my bet. I like my picks today. I think Texas. We'll get there. Nathan says on Facebook, I don't see how Dave Aranda defense had more fire than this one does, and he's not a fire person. I don't know. John says, I heard Stingley dad talking about Derrick opting out already. I wouldn't even play that kid. Take that shit somewhere else. Yeah, that's a bad look, man. It's a bad look from the Stingleys if you're threatening to opt out. I don't like it. I don't like it one bit. You can tell me all you want. That it's a business decision. Well, it's also a business decision to get NIL money too, and LSU to give you that platform. So I don't like this threatening fans. The truth is, I'm going to say this and I'm going to get ripped to shreds. The truth is, God, I probably shouldn't say this, but I'm just going to say it anyway. I don't think Derek Stingley is your best corner right now. Do I think he's the most talented corner? Yes. Do I think that he's the best overall player on your team? Yes. But right now, he's not your best player. He's not your best corner. And look, man, at what point do we say Elias Ricks is better than him? Elias Ricks is balling out of control, and Derek Stingley's given lackluster effort. I'm going to get ripped to shreds on that, but I really don't care. Hey, brother, you're going to have to show me something. Y'all can get mad at me all y'all want. Stingley's can get mad at me all they want. I really don't care. You got to show me something. It's time to go, brother. It's time to go. Nobody else wants to talk about it. Everybody kind of wants to protect some of these things, but look, I'm not, let's roll. Let's roll, brother. Get mad all you want. Tired of it. Here's the thing. I think he's the best player in the country. Here's the truth. Derek Stingley is the most talented individual in the country. It's not close. Okay? Show it to me. Show it to me. Where's this? Let me take this comment off. Everybody wants, where's this? Where's the heart? Let's roll. Not playing with that anymore. Opting out. Threatening fans. Bullshit. Don't threaten fans. Nookie says, hashtag ask Blake, as soft as our practices appear to have gotten, why are there so many injuries? Damn, you know what's crazy is I don't think that the practices are soft. I don't know what's up with the injuries. You know, a lot of people have talked about Coach Moffitt, Jack Marucci and his staff, and I really don't know what's up with the injuries. I really don't know. I really don't know. Because here's the thing: when I go out there and Nookie, they're hitting their asses off. And I know that some people that do other podcasts try to paint a picture to get fired. Don't always see things for yourself. I mean, if a guy is this tall and he's talking that shit, be careful what you're looking at. I'm fired up now. It's 8:33 and I'm already fired up. Paul Brown says, good morning, Blake. We get whipped in the trenches. That's where it starts, and that's why Bama can plug in any quarterback, and after quarterback, move the ball, and it's about protection and getting that opposing team's quarterback. Yep. Jacob says, nice duck hunt. Some AYS celebrating my birthday later. Happy birthday, my friend, and watching some LSU football. Yeah, Trey, I'm going to have to send in this. Trey Varndo from GM Varndo and Sons, I'm publicly calling you out. You're supposed to be taking me duck hunting. I'm ready to go. Cool front out there. I'm ready to go. Where we at, dog? You know I love you. Jack says, I'm on my way to Baton Rouge for the game, coming from Memphis, Tennessee. Awesome, brother. You coming down I-55? The I-55? Henry Pooh Bear says, Blake, I want to move on, but I have to say this. What hurt most about the loss last week was I felt betrayed. Everything that was fixed wasn't. It wasn't like Les days all over again. PTSD is real. Well, and here's another thing. And to the very end of Les's tenure, Les's play calling was trash. Les's philosophies were trash offensively. The one thing that I respected Les more than anything was the simple fact that his teams never really got pushed around a lot. You know, like they were physical, man. And, you know, I'm like, for example, and off the field stuff is off the field stuff. I'm not getting into that. But I'm watching Kansas last night and all those kids he recruited. And I'm thinking to myself, look, man, they're out there popping. They're physical. And they're not the most athletic team, but they play hard. And those are all guys that he brought in. So one thing I'll give Les is his teams played hard, and they were tough, and they were mentally tough. Kevin said, hashtag ask Blake, will Jay Ward play today? I don't know. I think he's out. I'm hearing he's out. And Dwight McGlothern needs to come back quickly, too. We need him. And Stephen asks, hashtag ask Blake, will we see Sage Ryan today? I don't know that. I think he's still a little out. A lot of injuries, guys. I think, but we'll see. Jason says hard to run someone over when he's hit before he gets going, though. That's not. I get what you're saying on some of those, but man, go watch that film again, man. Go watch that film again and get going where. Because I'm watching running backs all across the country, you know, getting touched at, you know, after 1 yard or a yard from the line of scrimmage. They're breaking tackles. They're putting their head down. You know, the kid from Michigan. I'm watching the Michigan game because I was thinking about betting Michigan versus Washington today, which I'm not. But, man, they're physical. They're putting their head down and runs like they know. So I really don't want to hear the excuse of, you know, well, you're getting hit 1 yard past the line of scrimmage. I mean, guys, how many times did Jacob Hester, God bless his soul, but how many times did Jacob Hester get hit the 1 yard line and just keep moving? I mean, sometimes you got to put your head down and get moving. And look, the O-line's got to get pushed. So that's not just on TDP, but I'm talking about, like, man, if you're not able to get pushed, at some point you got to break somebody's will. You know, the great Tom Jackson talked about when he played defense, he would lay his body on the line knowing he was going to get hurt more than the offensive player because he wanted to lay the smack it down on some candy asses. So at some point, you got to punch somebody in the mouth. Lee said that this is a soft generation. They can't take constructive criticism. And what's crazy is that their parents can't either. You know, they're in my DM saying, "Oh, well, Blake, why are you getting mad that my son, this is not, Brad Johnson never did this. I'm just throwing it. I'm throwing a example. Blake, why are you getting on my son for throwing an interception?" I mean, why is your son making money from NIL? You know, like, at what point are we going to take the blinders off here? You know, like, are we saying something to what everybody else is thinking? You know, like the whole Todd Harris thing. You know, Todd Harris is one of the smartest kids I've ever been around. Todd Harris is also not you translating that to the field. Todd Harris on the whiteboard will impress you like a son of a bitch. But, you know, on the field, it's not translating. All right, let's get to a couple more here. Nathan says on Facebook, at what point do we see Garrett? Sometime today. Only if we get a way ahead, or do we see him if Max struggles? No, you're not going to see him if Max. Well, let me back up. What are we going to constitute as Max struggling? You know, here's the problem that I think. I'm going to give three things about Max Johnson right now. Number one, he's in his third start, guys. I mean, he kind of spoiled us a little bit last year with He kind of spoiled us last year with how he played. But the thing was that Steve Ensminger knew that the kid's got to use his legs. Number two, and the problem that I have the most here is I get the behind the back pass. You know, there's just so many different things. And I'm not going to obliterate the kid after his third start. Guys, Joe Burrow went 50% in his third start. And I'm not going to compare the kid to Joe Burrow, but at what point do we give the kid a little bit of leeway? I mean, it's not on him. And scheme was trash. Guys, and I guess number three, Orgeron's playing scared. Last year, you didn't play scared running the kid. What about now? What about now? So, no, I'm not giving up on Max. I'm not even in the same stratosphere as giving up on the kid right now. Because at the end of the day, the kid still threw for 330 yards, 3 touchdowns, and an interception. And he didn't have a running game. They tied one hand behind his back. They wouldn't let him run. Orgeron said we never told, Josh Shibley asked Orgeron the question, and he lied his ass off saying, Josh asked, well, Coach, can Max run? And go, well, we never told him he couldn't run. Man, that's such a lie. It's such a lie. He's throwing Max underneath the bus there. You want to take the blame, take the blame. Travis says that kid better not opt out. He needs all the work he can get, missing all those tackles and shit. Well, and getting roasted by Devontae Smith, too. Logan says, do you think that O is pushing Pete to run a similar offense to what Brady ran, not letting him build it around his strengths and what Max does well? I think that there's some of that, and I think that Orgeron's got to understand that Jake Peets is not Joe Brady. DJ Mangus is not Joe Brady. You can't play scared. You can't play scared with Max. You can't play scared. And look, I hear some of the media. Look, this is so weird to me, as to why like people are already turning on Max in his third start. We want to see Garrett Nussmeier. Guys, I'm telling you for 100% fact, seeing it with my own eyes, Garrett Nussmeier is still throwing interceptions in practice. I mean, for crying out loud. I mean, I know he's a gunslinger. He's going to make one good – he's going to take 2 steps forward, 1 step back, 2 steps forward, 2 steps back. I mean, guys, he's a young guy. But you can't go out there playing scared. If God forbid, if Max gets hurt or Max gets injured, that's a little bit on Orgeron to the extent of, well, the depth. Ohio State has 4 scholarship quarterbacks right now. So, anyway. Corey says Stingley didn't look good last week. He did in the first half, but he whiffed, and he just, I'm tired of hearing some of the stuff. Arlen says Blake went from being timid about saying the comment to game day fired up. Look, guys, you got to get fired up. You got to get fired up. Jack says hashtag Ask Blake. I see a lot of these hashtag Ask Blakes, but no comment underneath. Let's see what this poll's doing. What's this poll doing? 61% of people say yes. 61% of people on this poll says yes, that Orgeron will turn it around. Okay, that was not what I was expecting. That 100% was not what I was expecting. I was expecting the opposite. Michael Scott. What's up, Michael Scott? Great name. Says hashtag Ask Blake. I think Ricks can be that vocal leader that we are missing as well. He's built different. Yeah, I think that he can be. And I think that when Jay Ward went down, you saw how crucial, one thing that I know that I was right about, and everybody telling me I was wrong all off season, I'll take it. One thing I know that I was right about was the Jay Ward factor, getting guys lined up. I mean, guys, they had one first down when Baskerville gave up the long pass along the sidelines. They only gave up 1 first down after that. He gets hurt, and then that happened. So I think that he is your center fielder. He is your shortstop. He is your team captain right now on the defense. You need to get him back very, very quickly. Seven says, I'm 100% on your page about Stingley. Once he received all the hype after 19, I believe he's regressed mentally due to like a bigger head or not. Well, he's going to have to play, man, because like I've told you guys this before, I'm really close with the head scout of the Texans. I get it's the Texans and all that kind of stuff. And he's calling me, asking me, like, bro, what is up with Stingley? Like the NFL guys think that he's still hurt. They think that, I'm going to leave that one alone, but they think that he's still hurt, and they're asking me, and I'm like, look, man, I mean, I don't know that. All right, let's get to a couple more. Steve says, hashtag Ask Blake, it's time to shut up and play Tiger football. Players, guys, show intellectual fortitude there in Tiger Stadium. Can't do it today. Can't do it today. They can't show me. Yep. Jack says, yeah, we coming down I-55 for the first time. There are any suggestions on things to do before the game? Since the COVID protocols, I don't really know. I haven't been out there, so I really don't want to give you something that's not there anymore. Some people are moving their tailgates, so I don't know that. Look, I will tell you this. I live somewhat off of I-55, not really. Just get ready for seeing some things from Hurricane Ida. I'll leave it there. I'll leave it there. But it's going to be devastating. I live in that corridor. That's why we're still displaced. That's why we're not in the studio. So just mentally be ready for that. And Homa's got power. Hey, I saw that. My buddy C. King said that they got power in Homa. But Demko, where you at, bro? I mean, we're talking 2 weeks now. 13 days, brother. 13. I love the linemen. Don't get me wrong. Because they haven't even come in our general direction. Bryan Williams says they mentioned former players calling out how bad the defense is too. Yeah, here's the thing that makes me mad. Like I come out here and say the player's name and I say this X, Y, and Z. I get ridiculed. Teron Matthew calls out the entire defense, says, hey, guys, you playing like trash. And it's like, oh, my God, Tyron's so right. He is. But, God, dog. Carl the Cat. What's up, Carl the Cat? It's time to get focused, block out the noise, practice what you preach. That's true. They got to block out the noise. And then, we'll see. Derrick Street says game day just dogged our defense on national TV. Look. Guys, I ain't trying to be rude right now. I'm like literally not trying to be rude. Good. I mean, At this point, we got to stop. We got to stop with it. Stephen says Herbie calling out LSU's defense as we speak, saying the last couple of years LSU has been soft. Pat Pete, Matthew, etc. should be disappointed in the effort. I couldn't agree more, guys. I called him out last week, but sometimes when you see somebody from outside being objective about your team, guys, he's not wrong. Like he's just not wrong. I wish I could say that he's wrong in all this, but he's not wrong anymore. Nookie says, Jax, go introduce yourself to any tailgate and tell them you drove in from Memphis, guaranteed hospitality. Otherwise, LaBerge Casino is a cool place to hang out. There you go. Todd says, play with tempo. We took the play clock down to 0 almost the whole damn game. And Todd says the same, or it's Todd the same thing. Bryan Williams says they mentioned former players calling out how bad the defense is too. We got to that one. Yeah, and Corey says, hashtag ask Blake, where did Stingley's dad say he may opt out? The Jordy Collada show. TJ says, here in Thibodeau, going to this game to just get away from all this sorrow stuff for a little bit, just to have a little fun. Well, yeah, I know you guys in Thibodeau got hit pretty hard, and I feel bad for that, and I feel bad for you guys. Look, I know what you're going through, and it's not easy. All right, this is what we're going to do. We're going to get to some of my game picks this week, some of my bets for this week. Now, I put something on AYS. Look, it seems like game day is just ripping LSU a new one. Good. Like I'm getting it via good. I mean, here's the good thing about that. They know the talent that LSU has and they're ripping them. I mean, guys, good. I mean, I'm not mad at that in the slightest. Let's get to a couple of these game picks. All right, so here's my game picks for today and last night. I had Coastal Carolina minus 26.5. We covered by the skin of our teeth by a half point. Today I'm going to take Texas minus 7 over Arkansas. I think Sarkisian, his offense is just too damn good. I think that those it's kind of a little bit like LSU. They've got talent all across the board. I think that they're going to go out there and score. And Arkansas, although they try to make it a nasty slugfest, I really just think that Texas is going to get after them. I think they're just going to score more points. Louisiana or UL, whatever they want to call themselves, they're still a good football team. I think UL is a better football team than Arkansas, just a little bit from a physicality standpoint. So give me Texas minus 7. I think that's a good bet. I'm all over this Texas spread. I did get Pitt versus Tennessee, the over. I got it early in the week, 54.5. Pitt and Tennessee were tied or in the top 5 in most plays run from last week. I think that those teams are just going to score points. Their defenses suck, so give me the over there. Kentucky minus 5.5 over Missouri. Look, I think Missouri has a lot of good coaching. I just don't think that they have the talent. I think Kentucky is going to physically dominate them on both lines of scrimmage. It's not going to be close. Kentucky finally has a quarterback that can throw a vertical pass in Will Levis. So give me Kentucky minus 5.5. That's the bets for the week. I do have some different ones on Bet Online. I'm going to take, this is not something that I'm picking, but something that I actually betted. I took South Carolina minus 2 versus East Carolina. I just like the way that Shane Beamer's team's playing on all 3 levels. So give me the Fighting Beamers. What was another one I took? I think that's it. I don't think I took any other bets today other than that one. I don't like the Oregon-Ohio State. I don't like 14.5. I just don't. I don't like that one. So, all right, guys, let's get to a couple. I see a couple questions in here. Then we'll get out of here. Corey says, hashtag ask Blake, is Amari Goodwin, John Emery playing today? Goodwin, yes. Emery doesn't look like it. Chevy says, ask Blake, do you think that we'll get these 2 weeks to fix all the mistakes and issues? I don't know. Not all of them. Not all of them. It's going to be interesting. All right, guys, we'll see you soon. Let's go watch some game day and get college football underway. We'll see you guys at probably the post-game show. Looking forward to it. We'll see y'all there. Have a good night. Or have a good day. Have a good day. I say have a good night. Have a good day.